So welcome to the webinar, and my name is Vanessa Stevens. I'm the Cash for College Strategy Manager with Alabama Possible, and Alabama Possible is a statewide nonprofit organization that removes barriers to prosperity through education, collaboration, and advocacy. And one area of focus is college access and college enrollment, and FAFSA and the Cash for College program is a key part of that. So first, I just want to take a moment to thank you and your school for being one of 300 Alabama high schools who are committed to increasing FAFSA completion and enrollment. It is really exciting what we can do with this program. Cash for College is now part of the Alabama College Campaign, and this campaign has the goal that every graduating senior apply to at least one college and complete their FAFSA. So right now, schools are in college application week, so hopefully you're having a lot of success with your students. And so now through March is really when we're pushing for FAFSA completion as well. And so previously these were two different initiatives. They've now been combined, and it is a great partnership between the Alabama Department of Education and Alabama Possible. So the Cash for College campaign is a really essential piece of trying to really instill a college-going culture throughout high schools in Alabama. And it's really the belief that post-secondary education is possible for all of our students. And we know right now that current post-secondary attainment could be higher in Alabama. And so the FAFSA is really an essential step to making that possible. In fact, according to the U.S. Department of Education, 9 out of 10 students who complete the FAFSA will attend college the following fall. It's really important because Alabama is leaving a lot of money on the table. A lot of Alabama high school students are eligible for Pell Grants. And so in fact, in 2016, Alabama left over $43 million on the table. And we also had one of the lowest rankings in FAFSA completion. The good news, however, is through a program like Cash for College, we are changing those numbers around. We were in the top 10 of states that increased their FAFSA completion over the past school years. And we really hope with your partnership, we are going to continue to increase that number. So about Cash for College, this is an initiative that encourages schools and districts to set goals for FAFSA completion and every year continually increase your completion rates. We promote FAFSA completion across the state through social media campaign. You can see some of the hashtags we're using there. And that's really important because even if we aren't working directly with every single high school in the Cash for College program, parents and students are seeing the social media campaign, they're getting the information, the resources, and we believe through that alone it's also helping to increase FAFSA completion. Cash for College is a competition. It's not only about the competition, it is about generating best practices and really creating energy around completing the FAFSA. And so to help schools and support them, we do have media recognition and cash prizes. To help educators, we create resources, technical assistance, we'll talk about that more. We have the data dashboard that helps provide analysis and insight, which we'll go into in depth about this webinar. And we're really looking at best practices and using Cash for College to advocate for a college-going culture at our schools. And please use the question box at any time to let me know if you have any questions, and I will answer those. So one question that I have is, I'm going to do another poll, which is, how many times has your school participated in Cash for College? So this is the third year that Alabama Possible is hosting the Cash for College initiative. So it looks like most of you, it's your first year, so that's really exciting, and we're really happy to have you join us in the campaign. Great. So I really hope this webinar will be useful to you and answer many of your questions. So one of the major parts of the Cash for College initiative are the awards. So I wanted to make sure I took some time to review those very clearly and what they consist of. So the first award coming up is the Best Hustle Award. And we're really looking at this new FAFSA period, October 1 through December 1. That's really critical. The students can get the FAFSA done early, and if schools can improve since the same period last year. So it's based on the improvement rate. And every school could potentially be recognized if they have at least a 10% improvement rate, and they get recognized with a certificate and media recognition. The next two awards, which have cash prizes, are measured through March 31st. And the first is the MVP, and this is awarded to the schools with the highest completion percentage. And it's based on each small, medium, and large school. We also have the Most Improved, which comes with the 500 grant award for the greatest improvement rate over last year, and again based on each school size. I'll talk about that more in a minute. And in June we have a fun Cash for College celebration where we get to celebrate the winners and recognize all the hard work that everyone went into this, and really look at the numbers and how many FAFSAs we were able to complete. So a frequently asked question is, how do we determine the winners? And so one key piece of this is looking at the number of FAFSAs completed. And it's important to note that there is a difference between submitted and completed FAFSAs. And so the U.S. Department of Education will report on submitted FAFSAs and completed FAFSAs. Submitted aren't 100% correct or complete, that number. And so when we look at the dashboard and the way we're calculating the winners, we're looking at completed FAFSAs, which means a student submitted the FAFSA successfully. If a student did not do that, it means they're missing some information, and they should get an email about that and need to submit those corrections. So how we determine the winners is we have to calculate the completion percentage and the improvement rate, and we use two different formulas to do that. The completion percentage is just the number of FAFSAs completed divided by your 12th grade enrollment. And so we get a percent, and that is your completion rate. The improvement rate is using a percent change formula. And so it's a way we can calculate improvement or change over time. And so if you recall math from back in high school, this is a percent change formula. So we take the current completion rate, so in this case 2017, subtract it from last year's completion rate, divide it by last year's completion rate, and get a percent. So I have an example here with Random High School with 200 12th graders, and I believe 75 completed FAFSAs up until December 1st. And so we get their completion rate. I'm sorry if you can't see what I can see on my screen. Is 37.5%. And then if you compare to last year's of only 32% and do the percent change formula, you get a 17% improvement rate. And so these are the two numbers and the exact sort of calculations we'll be doing at your school, and that you can see the dashboard doing every single week as it analyzes the data that comes in from the U.S. Department of Education. As I mentioned, the wards are determined by school size, at least the two wards in March. The one in December, the best hustle, is regardless of your size and open to just any school. But the two major awards with cash prizes are for the top schools in the small, medium, and large categories. And like I mentioned, it's based on your 12th grade enrollment. And you can see here how we break down the schools into small, medium, and large. So another benefit of being a school that is officially participating in the Cash for College program is you get a number of resources. On our website, we have a toolkit. It's a PDF with a ton of different flyers and letters and sample press releases you can use and more about the program. We're offering webinars like this one today. You will get a weekly email where I try to include best practices, do FAFSA shout-outs to highlight what schools are doing around the state, share latest information. We're really developing a community and connection of educators at both the high school and college level who are dedicated to FAFSA completion. We try to get information out in the media and show the rest of the state what high schools are doing. We have the dashboard. And last but not least, we have technical assistance upon request. So if you are really struggling with a particular FAFSA area or with a student in a particular situation, please reach out to us. And we are doing FAFSAs all the time as well. And if we don't have the answer, we will reach out to our resources and see what we can do to make sure that FAFSA gets completed. These are just a couple quotes from counselors who have participated in the program, that it's a friendly competition and it really keeps schools energized to try to complete the FAFSA, and also that it's a network of resources and people and can see what people are doing to get creative. And so really hope by having a special program for FAFSA completion, we're able to keep this up and keep everyone inspired. This right here is a resources page that we have at cashforcollegealabama.org. And you can see, you can click on the green box that says, I'm an educator. And if you go to that page, you'll see a list of resources, everything from signing up for the Alabama College campaign to the dashboard to a map and list of participating schools, flyers, handouts, links to webinars we've done. There's a lot of great resources on here that can answer a lot of your questions and really advance the work that you're doing. So please go ahead and check that out. Like I mentioned, the Site Coordinator Toolkit, lots of sample materials, no need to recreate the wheel. You can see a couple of them here, where you can use the thermometer to see and measure visually how your school's doing. Simple FSAID handout to help students keep track of that information. More examples of resources. So some of the resources, like I mentioned, are webinars, and you can mark the date for an advanced FAFSA completion webinar on Wednesday, November 29th at 9 a.m. And that is really going above and beyond a 101 webinar. The idea is that really looking at these tricky scenarios or situations students might be in, things around taxes, dependency or not, all those sorts of sticky questions that come up with the FAFSA. So really, we're going to try and dive deep into those issues. But later, we'll have a webinar about incorporating FAFSA into the classroom, which is about a lesson plan that government, economics, civics classes history can integrate and And we've really seen in schools that have implemented the lesson plan, there's a spike in the number of FAFSA completions when they do that. We'll have another webinar where we get some schools on the line who have done some creative activities around FAFSA completion with success and have them share their best practices. And we also plan to have a webinar on the student aid report and verification process, which I know is another complicated area of the FAFSA. So before we get into the dashboard, I'm going to ask another poll question, and that is, what is the most valuable Cash for College resource? So in your opinion, what do you think helps you increase FAFSA completion at your school? You can only choose one. I hope there's more than one. So it looks like we are having a tie between the dashboard and Toolkit and other resources. And so that's great. So I will keep that in mind as I continue to share resources with you. So now we're going to get into the dashboard. It's a tool that visually tracks, analyzes, and displays data very quickly and easily. And its main purpose is to really help you examine and monitor your school's progress. And now our new dashboard really adds another level of analysis where we can really get into comparing schools and districts and counties based on different parameters. So how to use the data: monitor your school's progress toward your goal, use it and its visual elements to motivate your colleagues and students to get excited about completion, compare your school to other schools of similar size or in similar areas. You can look at your district levels, progress, and we really hope it ultimately is a way to advocate for more resources to promote awareness about the importance of FAFSA and really contribute to that college-going culture. And so the dashboard is really great because instead of having to download this Excel sheet from the Department of Education and work through these numbers and compile them, it's a way that you can see from week to week and cumulatively how your school is doing. So we hope it saves a lot of time. And it also helps foster healthy competition and encourages you to get creative at your schools. So some of you have participated in Cash for College before and might remember previous dashboards. And the previous dashboard was only for Cash for College schools that signed up. It would calculate the completion percentage and the improvement rate and compare week to week. The major difference with the new dashboard is that it includes all Alabama schools that have enrollment data and FAFSA completion data. It, in the same way, calculates the key statistics around completion and improvement and by week to week, and has advanced search fields that allow for greater comparison. It's really way more robust than what we had before. So it's important to review the data sources. We really wanted to use official sources and sources that would be consistent. So we have three primary sources, the first of which is the Alabama Department of Education, which we get 12th grade enrollment numbers from, and also the low income rate, which is based on free and reduced lunch percentage. We also get names of schools and the districts they're in from the state. We then get data from the U.S. Department of Education, the data around FAFSA submitted and completed. And then in some cases, we have to use data that's self-reported from schools. And I will explain why that is. So schools included, like I mentioned, it automatically includes Alabama public schools that have the key data that we need. It also includes schools that sign up for Cash for College and provide us certain data. So these might be private schools, alternative schools, or subdivisions of schools. And so some examples, we don't just get data from the state from a private high school like Holy Family Cristo Rey. And so when they sign up for Cash for College, they will provide us their 12th grade enrollment and an estimate of a low income rate at their school. And with that information, and because they have FAFSA completion data, we're able to include them in the dashboard. Other schools that don't simply and immediately have State Department data is, for example, the Jefferson County International Baccalaureate School, because it is technically part of Shades Valley. However, JCIB has its own separate FAFSA data, and so we're able to get the data from the U.S. Department of Education, and with their self-reported data around their number of 12th graders and their share of free and reduced lunch, we're able to include them separately in the dashboard. So there's some examples of schools that aren't straightforward, and we need self-reported data from them in order for them to be included. And that means they will need to sign up to participate every year in the Cash for College program in order to get their data, in addition to all the other resources we offer. As I mentioned, we have new robust search fields. So before you could just look up your school, now you can sort by city, by county, by school district, by low income, by size, and whether or not your school is participating in Cash for College. It's important to note there are some data limitations. One of the key ones is we cannot include schools that do not have federally reported FAFSA completion data. So this may affect a school, some career technical schools whose FAFSA data gets completed to a home school in their district. If they don't have a federal identifier with FAFSA completion data, we just can't include them in the dashboard. As I was saying before, we're not going to be able to include private alternative subdivision schools that don't have State Department data unless they sign up to participate in Cash for College and provide the data to us. One limitation that you may have noticed is around the release of the State Department data, and that right now the dashboard lacks current 2017-2018 12th grade enrollment data. And that's just a matter of the state does not release it as soon as the school year starts. We're hoping it will come out this month in the next couple of weeks, and then we can update the dashboard and be able to show you a more accurate completion rate in comparing to last year. So until we get that data, we have to use the enrollment data from last year, and the same with the low income rate based on free and reduced lunch. The State Department hasn't released that data yet. So that may be an issue for years to come, where there will be a lag in the dashboard of current data. Another limitation is that if schools have fewer than 5 FAFSA completions, we can't calculate their rates yet. And the reason being is the U.S. Department of Education will only include a less than 5 symbol on their spreadsheet. And so because we don't have a concrete number, like 2 or 4, any number between 1 and 5 to do the math, it's going to show up as NA until we get that. So it might take just another week for your school to go past number 5, and then the dashboard will start calculating it. So if you see that, just hang in there, keep increasing your FAFSAs, and that number will change. As I mentioned, the dashboard and its calculations does not include FAFSA submissions, only completions. This is because we need to use the data from the U.S. Department of Education, and also because we want to make sure these are FAFSAs that can actually be analyzed for eligibility for aid. Just a FAFSA submission just doesn't get us there to the results that we want. Another thing is you might notice that the data on the dashboard varies from what your school has. Again, it might be around submissions and completions. X number of students might have told you that they've completed the FAFSA, but they might be confused that it's only the FSAID, or they did hit submit, but it didn't go through all the way because it's not being marked as complete because it's missing some information. That could be an issue. Another issue is the enrollment data. So not only the issue with current versus previous year data, but this is data that was reported to the state, and obviously you might have student migration, other things that happen during the school year where your final 12th grade enrollment number changes, but we can't accommodate that in the dashboard. We need to use, as much as we can, consistent official sources of data. So before we jump into the dashboard, I wanted to let you know we do have a number of resources to help you understand how we created it and frequently asked questions. So we do have a data dashboard addendum that explains sources, calculations, and limitations in detail, as well as an FAQ sheet. So please refer to those. If you still have any questions or concerns, please feel free to contact me at cashforcollege@alabamapossible.org. It's still a new dashboard, still making sure everything works perfectly, and so you might catch something that we haven't caught, so please feel free to let me know. So now we're going to get to the fun part of playing with our new dashboard. You can access the dashboard at alabamapossible.org/dashboard. You can go ahead and bookmark that. And now we are going to migrate over to the dashboard and take a look at it. So when you open up the dashboard, you are going to land on a state overview page. And so this is for the entire state and all the schools that are in the dashboard. You will see that you can look at this year's data, the FAFSA completed, the 12th grade enrollment. It does a division here, and you can get the completion percentage. You can then compare it to last year's with the same figures. And then we have the improvement rate here, and we can see that Alabama is doing better over the same period this year than we were last year. It was really exciting. What we have over here is a pie chart where you can see the number completed so far. You can see incomplete, which are those submissions that didn't go all the way through. And then you can see that there are many more potential students in Alabama. And so hopefully as we keep week by week, we're going to see more and more green. What you also see on this page is weekly progress, where you have this line graph that will chart the completion percentage between this year and last year. And if you hover, you can get the exact percent week by week. So this is a template for the dashboard, and you will see this on every page for the different levels of statistics that we have. So then we have the By School tab. And this is really exciting because it shows a ranking of all the schools that are in the dashboard. And if you go down here, you can see it's on this scale from a deep red that represents 0 FAFSA completion to the dark green, which represents 100%. So hopefully this is a fun feature for you to come in and see where your school is compared to other schools in Alabama. What we also have here are all these great search features. So everything that I've reviewed. And so say if you wanted to compare two counties, and so the same with any of these features, the default is all. So what you're going to need to do is first deselect all, and then you can choose one county or two counties, whatever it might be. It could be the district, city, and then it's going to pull up those schools. And if this window will stay here, you just need to pop that arrow back in. And so here you're able to see and compare the schools you want to look at. Another quick way to compare schools, instead of using the county drop-down menus, you have this great little map of Alabama, the counties, and you can just hover over and you can choose that county. So if you wanted to jump and look at a particular school or school district, you can just hover over and click on that name to get into the detail, but we will get to that in just a minute so you can see that up close. So similar to the school ranking, we have a way for you to see districts ranked. So if you go to the by district county tab, this is great for superintendents to see how their school district is doing compared to others in the state. As you can see, it highlights the number of schools. If you wanted to jump to the detail, you can just click on that. And similarly, it will show by county. So now, probably what you're going to use a lot is the school detail page. So if you didn't jump to the school from the other pages, you have a drop-down menu here. And with any of these drop-down menus, because it's a long list of school that's in here, you can just start typing right here, and it will jump to schools that begin with that. So we have Ramsey High School here in Birmingham that showed up here. And so just like the statewide page, you get to see your current year data compared to last year and your improvement. Like I noted, a limitation right now is that the 12th grade enrollment numbers are the same, and we realize that isn't the case in real life. So we are just waiting for that data, and we can update this and calculate a more accurate completion percentage and improvement rate. So you can see here that Ramsey has a 3% improvement rate from last year. You can go down here and also see their improvement. And this weekly progress line graph is really useful to look at interventions you're doing. So say college application week has been great to promote FAFSA completion. We've done some special events. You're going to be able to see here once this data comes out if there was a spike in your data. So any other events, activities you do, if you conduct a FAFSA lesson plan, look for spikes, and it's a great way to really show the impact of the work that you're doing. And definitely let us know if you see that happen at your school, because you really want to advocate for resources for you to do more events. Similarly to school and statewide page, you have a district detail page. And again, you can use the drop-down menu to jump around to different districts. And so the same data that lets you see what's going on and how your district is doing. So I'll mention again that we have the FAQs and the data addendum, and at the bottom of every page you can see these quick links to get to them. And just to show you what they look like, we have the FAQ page that highlights the questions we have and some of the things I've explained just in detail, how often you're updating the dashboard, and what I use at your school on the dashboard. You know, the data addendum, which is much more technical for those of you who are interested in those details of the sources and how we created it, why there's limitations. So it goes over, there's some other things that could affect the data, like if a student is over the age of 19 and completed the FAFSA, they're not in the completion statistics, things like that, definitions of the terms. And I've also completed a tutorial that's just focused on the dashboard. It's already up on YouTube, so if you have a colleague who missed this, they can do this webinar here on YouTube, or the one I'm doing today right now will be uploaded to YouTube as well. So with that, I'm going to see if we open it up for questions, see if there's been any questions. And you can go ahead and ask any. Let's see here. We have a question here if the PowerPoint will be available, and I can definitely make that available to you. Yes, so I think what I will do with the PowerPoint is I can send it out to the participants or also on next week's weekly email blast. Are there any other questions? Okay, well, I don't see any other questions. I'll definitely get the PowerPoint out, and of course, feel free to contact me at cashforcollege@alabamapossible.org. And thank you so much for all your work, and we're really excited to be using the dashboard to increase FAFSA completion this year.